Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. In fact, you can probably find me most places as Pearl of the Pacific. This is episode 75 and today is Sunday, May 17th. So welcome everybody. If you are, I don't really do the thing like if you're new, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back, but welcome back or welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy it. This is a knitting podcast, and I have some knitting to show you, and I actually have a little bit of everything today, so it's good news. So let's jump right into Below the Conch Shell. I have some very exciting news in that I finished my sock pattern last night. Yay! It's all done. I figured out a way to get around the chart issue that I was having, which was the biggest hang up that I was kind of procrastinating about. So that is done. I figured out a way to do it. It's not as elegant as I would have liked, but it works and you can read it, so this is good. So yes, that is done. I actually posted it to Ravelry last night. So if you were poking around really late last night, way too late, it's up. And it's called the White Sandy Beach Socks. I should probably tell you that. You're probably wondering, okay, the sock pattern's out. What is it called? Where can I go look at it? So the sock pattern is out. It's called the White Sandy Beach Socks, or they are called the White Sandy Beach Socks. And I actually, unfortunately, do not have the actual socks to show you. I know, very sad day. What I did was I knit them when I was writing the pattern. Like I kind of knit them as I was writing. And I finished them and I made them a little shorter than I normally would have for myself. And I wore them once, I think, and then I wore them to take the pictures. And then I actually ripped them out. They were just ever so slightly too small for my feet. And I think it's because the cable, I knit them, I think on I want to say size 0, and I normally knit my socks in a size 1. And I did the 64 stitches, which is the medium size. There are 3 sizes. And I needed like an extra 2 or maybe even 4 stitches for me. They're mostly plain stockinette, and they have a cable running up the outside of the foot. And I will insert some pictures somewhere along the line here so that you can see what they actually look like. And yeah, so that's really exciting. So I do plan on reknitting them. I can show you the yarn that I designed them out of. They're out of Leading Men Fiber Art Show Stealer, which is their MCN base. And I knit a little toe last night because I also realized that I had knit that pair and then ripped them out and not measured the gauge. Also, I wasn't terribly happy with that gauge, so I knit up a little toe as my swatch last night. So this is the Poseidon colorway. It's the same colorway that I did my hat mitten cowls out of. The dye takes a little differently because of the cashmere in it, but I love it. They're wonderful to wear the couple times I've worn them, and I can't wait to knit them again. So, yes, so I'm going to knit them up also as kind of a test of my pattern. This is the pattern I was most worried about. I think I've caught all the errors, but if you catch one, please, please tell me and I will fix it. Or if anything's confusing, please tell me. I tried to make things as clear as possible. My test knitters were very helpful. And so, yes, the pattern is out. And with that, I'm going to have a sock knit along. And this can be any sort of sock. So in June and July, we're going to be doing a sock knit along. And you can knit, you can enter any socks that you finish within those 2 months. But if you knit a pair of my socks, the White Sandy Beach socks, you get to enter twice. So you get to post your picture twice in the finished objects thread. So that's the deal with that. And I will, I'll probably be running a coupon code. I didn't get myself quite organized for that this morning. But I think I have 1 more week of recording before June. So get yourself ready for that. And If you look in the group, the Knitted Paradise podcast group on Ravelry, or if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be announcing the pattern there. But the coupon code's only going to be for either members of the group and viewers of the podcast. So I will put that up in the group this week sometime, probably soon. And so you can buy the pattern for a little discount. Right now it's listed as $5. And yes, so I don't know what the discount's going to be. It was really late at night when I finished that, meaning like 10:30, 11. I like to go to bed really early. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm finished with this pattern, get it up, and it's done. So that is very, very exciting. I'm so glad I finally have that pattern out. I've been waiting forever and ever. And I'm really sorry that I don't have the socks to show you, but you'll see those as I re-knit them. Not at the moment because I have a bunch of other socks that I need to knit, which I'll talk about a little later. But yeah, so I'll be knitting along with you guys, which will be fun. And yes, it's June and July, sock knit along. Go. All right. The other announcement that I have is not as exciting. I got an email from Google Webmaster Tools saying that my website had been hacked. And so I've taken it down for the time being until I can make sure that there's no malicious content, so that if you go and visit it, you're not going to download malware or anything. I mean, hopefully your virus protection will have caught it, but I didn't want to take any chances, and I didn't want to, cause someone's computer unfortunate issues unbeknownst to myself. So I've just made the decision to take it down for the time being, and hopefully I can get that sorted out soon and get it back up, because I know some people watch the podcast through there and they have it like through an RSS feed, because I realized that the viewership had gone down just a tad, and I was like, what is that? And then I thought, oh, it's because people aren't getting it in their feeds. Like, I watch a lot of my podcasts through Feedly, which pulls RSS feeds from people's websites. And so and mine hasn't been popping up, and that's because it comes through my website and it's not there. I also subscribe to most of them on YouTube anyway, so I have multiple ways of knowing if there are new episodes to my favorite podcast. All right, so those are the announcements this week. Let's move on to On the Island. And exciting or not exciting, I only have one thing that I've really been working a lot on that this week, and that is my Campside shawl by Alicia Plummer out of Sun Valley Fibers BFLDK. And it is getting very large, and it's on very short needles. Well, not very short, but shorter. So let me see if I can kind of spread out one side. Ooh, let me show you the right side. So this is the Campside shawl, and it's these lovely eyelets that start out a little more. You start out in some stockinette, and then you do some eyelets, and then they get closer and closer together. And now I'm doing them very close together. So now I'm in the last section. And now, if you follow me on Instagram, you may know, or you probably know at this point, that I made a huge mistake when I was knitting this. Totally user error, just didn't read the pattern. What happened was I had knit, so there's different sections and there's different charts you follow to do those different sections, and you basically, the way she's written, it's a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away, but the way she's written the patterns, you do, she doesn't tell you how many repeats, she just tells you, like, do this chart on this side and this chart on this side until you have so many stitches. And I had done the first section, and I had moved on to the second section, and I was knitting along, and for some reason, like, each section has its own paragraph in the pattern. I mean, they're not long paragraphs, they're like 2 sentences, but for some reason I had, like, merged these 2 paragraphs together in my mind, and so I read, like, do this section until you have 138 stitches. And so I kept doing it, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I finally have 138 stitches. I felt like that section would never end. I was ready to go on to the last section, and I realized there was a whole other set of charts that I hadn't used yet. And I'm like, wait, what about those charts? This is not working. And I realized I had skipped a set of charts. I had skipped a whole section. So I had to rip back 42 rows. I was supposed to do that second section until I had 96 stitches and not 138. So that was really frustrating, but I ripped back the 42 rows and just picked it up, counted the 96 stitches. I was like, all right, I'm in the right spot now. Continue on section 3, and now I'm on section 4. So that was a lot of catch-up knitting. I probably would have been done with it by now, but I love this yarn. It's like, I probably would, I might use this as like a blanket sometimes. I mean, it's kind of like a half blanket anyway. At this point, it's so big. But, so I really didn't mind knitting it again. It's very simple. The charts are pretty easy to follow. I've had to do a little bit of fudging, and that's probably just user error, and I don't really care. It's not a huge problem, like one stitch off, and I made sure that the eyelets are lining up. That's really the most important thing. And so that is the Campside shawl, and I think I'm halfway through this last section here. So I have probably that much more to go, and then a border of some ribbing, and then I'll be done. I'm really hoping to finish this week. Ta-da! So that I can actually wear it before it gets way too hot. It's actually a little chilly this morning, but it's supposed to get up to like 80 degrees today, so we'll see. All right. Shove that back in my bag. All right, so this is the only thing that I worked on that I didn't finish. So let's move on to set sail. I finished my gigantic man sock, Syncopation socks, for my choir director. And he has no idea that these are coming, and I have definitely knit on them in choir, which I think is really funny, but I sit kind of behind him, so, well, at least in rehearsal, because during the week we rehearse at his house, and then, like today, we do rehearsal before we sing in the devotional program at the Baha'i House Worship. So, then I sit in the front and he can see me knit, but he doesn't really, I don't think, pay attention to what I knit, so that's okay. So these are the Syncopation socks, and they are knit in Cascade Heritage in real black. And I finished them yesterday and washed them last night, and they're still a little damp, but they're drying. And there, you can see the pattern. So it's just kind of this alternate rib pattern, which looks really cool. It's a really cool effect. And I was over at my friend's house yesterday, and she was saying that would be a really cool pattern on a sweater. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be a really cool pattern on a sweater. So I may put this on a sweater at some point. But, so that's the Syncopation pattern, and it's called Syncopation Socks. It's by Mary Henninger. There we go. Mary Henninger. I was trying to read, and it was not going well. So those will be done just in time, because the choral festival is coming up. We start rehearsals Thursday, and the performances are on Sunday. So if you're in the area and you'd like to come hear a very, very large choir sing some awesome sacred music, you should come. There's a program at 9:30 and a program at 12:30 at the Baha'i House Worship, which is on kind of the corner of Linden and Sheridan in Wilmette. It's kind of hard to miss. It's kind of gigantic. It's beautiful. But it's like houses, 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 house of worship. You can't miss it. So these are done, and I'm going to wait till they dry to give them. I was thinking about giving them today, but we also have a choir member who's leaving very soon, and he's lived here for a long time, and he's kind of a huge member of the choir, but he's moving. Sad day, and today is his last rehearsal. He's staying for the choral festival, and then he's moving. So I didn't feel like today is kind of his day, and I didn't want to give my choir director something. So I'll wait till the choral festival to give those to him. But I'm very excited, and my husband's very excited to give him some socks. Because I'm always knitting mostly socks in choir because they're easy to take with me and have on my lap with my music. So, so it's kind of fun that I was knitting his socks. So those are done. That's enough about those. The other thing that I finished is the Autumn Fires by La Maison de Saba out of Knit Picks Stroll Tonal in Spring. And I have not woven in the ends or blocked these, and you'll see why in a second. But that is the pattern. Ta-da! And these are absolutely beautiful. I love them. And my mom loves them. I was Skyping with her on Mother's Day, and I was knitting on them kind of like below the screen. She's like, what are you knitting on? I'm like, your socks. Do you want to see them, or do you want them to be a surprise? And she's like, I want to see them. So these are going to be for my mommy, and she and my dad are coming in the end of June, and so we needed to finish these by then. So they're done. They look really small because the pattern just in, but once I block them, they'll be all right. And I did finish the other one. I'll show it to you right now. And the reason that it still has 2 stitches on the needles is because I had a question from someone about how I finished the top of my socks. So I'm going to show you. I tried to explain it in the thread. What is going on here? I've got too many threads. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to snip this and then show you how I do the last couple stitches. I can show you these. These are some foldable scissors, and I keep them in every bag because they are infinitely handy for knitting and for non-knitting related cutting needs, which happens randomly. But people are always like, do you have scissors? I'm like, yeah, I do. The other day someone's like, do you have a tape measure? And I was like, yeah, I do, because I keep those in my sock bags. I don't always keep them in other bags. All right, I'm going to scooch forward to my tiny child-size IKEA chair. You're probably wondering, so this is a chair from IKEA, and you've probably seen like the adult-size ones. Now I have the child-size one. We don't have a lot of space in this apartment, which is why I record in front of the fireplace, because it's a nice flat wall. And but we needed another chair, and I fit perfectly in this chair, although the cat thinks it's his chair sometimes. All right, so back to the socks, right? That's what you really want to hear about. All right, let me see how I can show this. So these I have done using Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, which I won't show you how to do because you can look that up very easily. But what I do is, I think I've got, oh, come on, these needles are all over the place. All right, so let's put this back on 2 needles. So let's see if I can show it to you this way. So I've got 2 stitches left, and I will finish those up. So this is Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off. And so I finish up the last one, and if you just pull out the yarn there, you sometimes end up with this jog. It's usually not that extreme, but I'm folding it up. But you end up with this jog right here that makes the top of this, like it's an obvious end of where you ended the socks. So what I do, as I try to explain in the thread, is I take this and I pick up and knit one like into the first kind of stitch here, which the way you're seeing it is a purl stitch. For me, it's a knit stitch. But it's kind of that first stitch that I bound off is what I'm picking up. See if I can kind of turn this around and show it to you. So I've picked up into that first stitch that I bound off. And I'll pick it up and actually knit it. So instead of doing the extra yarn over that you do for Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, I don't do that. I just pick up and knit that stitch. So I've got 2 on the needles here, and I just pull that. I just bind it off like a normal bind off without the extra stretchy part, and just pull it through and weave in the ends. Let's see if I can kind of pretend like the end is woven in here. And it makes, and then once you kind of tighten this and sometimes, and weave it in, it makes that jog there much less noticeable. So that's a tip I have for, yeah, and kind of the tighter you tie that, the less noticeable that end is, that jog. So I hope that was helpful. That was a question that William asked. So William, this is for you. I hope this is better than me trying to explain it in the thread, but that's what I do. And also if I do the sewn bind off, or sometimes it's known as the tubular bind off, the one I've been using a lot for ribbing lately. It's kind of my new thing for ribbing, but this one takes a little less time, and I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's not as seamless or as invisible as the invisible rib bind off, also known as tubular bind off is. Obviously, it's called the invisible rib bind off for a reason. So that is my bind off. So that's now set sail, but I wanted to, so now I've got 2, and those I'll weave in the ends today and wash and block those, but those are done. And so that's why they weren't completely bound off, because I wanted to show you that. So I saved them just for you. I gotten them to that. I was like, I'm going to bind them off until the last like 3 stitches on the second sock so that I can show that to you guys. So that is the other thing that's set. The other thing that I have that I wanted to show you that has set sail a while ago, what is these dryer balls. And you may or may not have heard of dryer balls, but they are something you can use in your dryer instead of like dryer sheets. And I had just run out of dryer sheets. I'd always wanted to get or make dryer balls. So I thought, oh, I'm going to run out of dryer sheets soon. I should make some. So I did. I had some Cascade 220, some the regular one, not the superwash one. And I made some dryer balls. And you can look up online how to do these. They're very simple. I just hand wound the balls of Cascade 220. And then the first time you wash and dry them, you put them in a stocking or like a hosiery, those kind of stockings. Not Christmas stockings, that would not work out as well. But something of that nature. And it felts them. And mine aren't too terribly felted, but they're pretty felted. They're felted to the point where they're not going to come apart. They're not as pretty as the ones you can buy that are like really smooth. So this one I did, I made 2 because that's how much yarn I had, and then I made 2 more later. And these ones I did, they're pretty loose. You don't want to wind them too tight. And you can see I like wound it a bunch in one direction and then switched directions and yada yada. So they're used at this point, and they've got some, you know, stuff on them, but they're very effective. They're very easy. If you can remember to take them with you. It's always my promise, me remembering to take that. It's not that far. I go out the back door and down like 10 stairs, and there's the washer and dryer, but sometimes I go to put things in the dryer and I forget. But then I just come back up here and get them and stick them in. So these are the first 2 I made, and then I made 2 more. They're a little smaller. And I wound the yarn all like crazy like. And it doesn't really seem to make a difference. These ones are a little tighter, which I don't think are as effective, but they're alright. And I usually stick actually all 4 in the dryer at once. And they're great. They take out a lot of the static, which is fantastic, especially in the winter. And they're great. And also they kind of like loosen things up. I know sometimes when you wash things with feathers or when you dry things with feathers, it's good to stick tennis balls in there. But these are much better than tennis balls to put in the washer. And they don't shed at all. They more attract pills. But I don't find that they shed at all, which is nice. So I've been meaning to show these to you, but I always forget. So I finally just put them in the show notes. And which is good because I sat down to record and had totally forgotten until I was reading through my show notes. I was like, oh, dryer balls. I should go get those. So those are my dryer balls. And right now I'm keeping them in a plastic shoebox from the Container Store with my ball winder. What I really should do is get them their own box and put them downstairs with the laundry soap, because I keep that in the storage unit, which is in the same basement as the washer and dryer, so it makes it convenient. They don't have to carry it up and down, and also make sure that I remember it. So I should put them down there, but I need to get them their own box first. But right now there is room in that one, so yeah, I'll talk about these boxes. So I went to the Container Store and I got a case actually of these boxes and put all my shoes in, and because I was just throwing all my shoes in this like thing in my closet, it's like cubby hole in my closet, and it was a mess. So I got these, and they nicely stack my shoes and keep them looking good and organized. And I had some leftovers, so that's what this is. And the cat likes it because it's plastic and he likes to lick plastic. Weird cat, but whatever. So after that little tangent, let's go to, where are we? From the mainland. From the mainland, we got some awesomeness in the form of Avengers mini skeins. I don't know why I decided to sing that. But I got the Avengers mini skeins from Gnomeacres. I've been caring about them, and I was like, you know what? I just need to bite the bullet. I really would like the full skein version of a lot of these, but, and I'm not knitting like a scrappy sock yarn blanket, but I just wanted these, so, you know, that's okay with me. And so then I got to see all the colors in person, and I love her yarn anyway, so I'll find some project to make with these. Let me actually take them out. Ta-da! So here they are. Let's see if I can kind of hold them up for you to see the prettiness of these. Ta-da! So we can go through them. This is Scarlet Witch, and then we have Black Widow, and we have Ultron. I think this is Ultron. Yes, that's Ultron. See if I can get through all these, right, Amanda? This is Iron Man. I'm not looking at the list, so this is a test. This is Thor, and this is Hulk Smash, and Hawkeye. I can do this. Captain America, and Quicksilver. Ta-da! I think this one's my favorite, just because I love the colors. Those are totally me colors, so I may be buying a large skein of this at some point, but these are really fun. So, yay! I don't know if there's a good way to kind of show them all, but I love them, and I'm going to find some sort of project. They are, they're 20 yards each, which, let's see, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So it's 180 yards total. So, ta-da! There, you can kind of see them all. Tilt them toward the sun, maybe. So I have a nice bouquet of mini skeins, which can go nicely in the other thing that I bought from her, which is, ta-da! This is known as it's a mug or sippy cup because it comes with a straw. Or you can use it as a yarn wrangler, she also calls it. You can kind of see the tractor girl there. Because you can put your yarn in it and pull it out through the top there. I think I might use it as a display for my mini skeins. There we go. Ta-da! So that's where they're going to live for now. Until I figure out what to do with them. They were just too awesome to pass up. And I wanted to make sure I got some before they weren't available anymore. So, yay! I'm really excited about these. And I had seen this cup thing at Stitches, and I wanted one. And I just didn't get one, and I don't know why. So I got myself one of those while I was there. And the other fun thing is that on the invoice that I got in the mail, she put a little sticker that says, "Did you know Iceland has the most tractors per capita?" Which I just thought was hilarious. So, now you know that Iceland has the most tractors per capita. Hawaii also has a large portion of tractors, which is kind of funny. There are a lot of farms, but there are a lot of people who get their tractor's license. I think you can get it at 14. And there are times when you're driving down the road really slowly and there's a tractor in front of you and you just wait for it to go. It's very different than here. If there's a tractor on the road going really slowly, it would be a honking fest. Like, people would be honking galore. Whereas in Hawaii, you're like, oh, okay, there's a tractor. The things that you see living in a ranch town is a tractor driving down the road at 30 miles an hour and it doesn't bother you because you live in Hawaii. That's just kind of how things are. Yay for Hawaii. So that was from the mainland. What? Oh, on the horizon. That was the other thing. I'm like, I know I had something else. Because otherwise it's going to be really short. On the horizon. So now that I've cast those 2 socks off, I have, of course, 3 more that need to go. Actually, I have 4 more that need to go on the needles. But the 2 that are going to be going on next are the ones for my grandparents. Because those also need to be done by the time my mom gets here, or my dad gets here. Because they, after coming here, are going to Europe to see my grandparents, and I wanted to send these socks with them. So, these are going to be for my grandmother, and this is Sophie's Toes in Emily's Garden, and these are Leading Men Fiber Arts. I forget what base this is. I think it's the show Stopper. The Man of Mystery. I know that's the colorway of Man of Mystery. But I forget the base. I'll have to go look that up. By the time I start knitting them, I'll know the base. But this is Leading Men Fiber Arts Man of Mystery, which is this gorgeous, it's like this teal over-dyed in black. It's beautiful. And so those will be knit soon. And so these are going to be my Coral Festival knitting right here. And I think I'm going to take my bigger on the inside shawl as kind of an in-between project, because I realized as I was knitting on the Syncopation socks during our all-staff meeting this week, after knitting on them for hours and hours and hours at a time, my hands just got really tired of knitting on the tiny needles and tiny yarn. And I love knitting socks, but knitting on the Campside the next day with much bigger yarn and much bigger needles, or what seemed like much bigger yarn and needles, it was a much needed break. So I'm going to take that shawl and these 2 socks, and that's going to be my Coral Festival knitting. So, yay. I've had lots of meetings lately, which has allowed me to get a lot of knitting done. I'm okay with that. So, yes. Right now they're living in my Cozy Crafting Morning Sunshine bag. They'll get their own bag at some point, but it was a free bag at the moment. So, that's where they are at the moment. So one of them will probably stay in there and the other one will move. The other ones that need to go on the needle besides my sock design are the ones that I have actually as a commission knit for my best friend's friend. And these are the Cyborg's Craft Room in the Distressed colorway in the Asocolate base. I have a ball band, so I know which one these are. And these and those yarns I got at YarnCon this year. Actually, do I have the tags in here? Ha! I do. Alright, Sophie's Toes sock yarn. It's her 100% merino superwash base. And it's the callback base, so it is their sport weight. That's what I thought. Okay, so it is the sport weight base. Alright, so those are my grandparents' socks. And they're both 100% superwash merino. But my grandparents are used to taking care of knitting because my grandmother's a knitter, so I'm not worried about that. They're not too hard on socks. They're getting kind of old, so they don't do a whole lot of running around. I think my grandmother's mostly going to probably wear hers in bed. And those will go with the new comforter that we got her last time we were there. That was a funny story. So she's had this old comforter for ever. My dad's like, I remember that when I was growing up. So this comforter is pretty old. And my dad's like, you know what, I really want to get her a new comforter, but we need to like do it sneakily because I mean, you probably know that Czechoslovakia was communist for a very, very long time. And then when the wall fell, you know, things went back to kind of the way they were in terms of country boundaries, at least. They went back to being Slovakia and the Czech Republic. But a lot of the communist mentality has stayed around. It's much, much better now than it used to be. It's kind of been interesting going throughout the years and seeing the difference and the progress. And so that's been really nice. But they tend to hang on to everything. Just because things were so hard to get in communism that they tend to hang on to everything. And they have a hard time letting things go. Which is understandable. You know, it's a kind of a product of their situation. But trying to get this comforter away from them was going to be a little tricky. My grandmother probably wouldn't have put up as much of a fuss. But so we did this really sneaky thing of saying that we needed the comforter for something. And we were going to lend her this, we were going to give her this new one instead, because we had bought it for our stay there and something. And no, really, we had bought it for her, but it was a way of getting it to her and getting the old one out of the house to replace it. And my grandfather was so funny. He's like, no, make sure we get the all 11 safety pins. They're holding the bottom together. It's okay. It's okay. So we got her this bright yellow striped like duvet cover and duvet, and it's much, much nicer. So she has something very pretty. She was so happy. She was smiling so big. So after we did the swapperoo, which was a little intense, the next day when we came over, she was smiling so big. It was so happy. So those socks are going to go really well with that bright yellow comforter. So I'm really excited about that. So that was really fun. She was so happy with that comforter. But it was really funny trying to get the old one away. It was so bad. But so we'll see how the situation goes when my parents go back. But so that was a little side tangent, funny story. All right. I hope you enjoyed that funny side tangent. I'm laughing so hard. Anyway, I think that's it. The only other things I have on here are things that are like resting in the hammock, which will come out eventually. But some things have kind of moved to the forefront over others while they're getting done. So ta-da! I think that's the episode for today. And I will put some pictures of the white sandy beach socks, probably in the beginning and probably at the end as well. And I hope you enjoy them and have fun knitting them. They are kind of my recipe for socks, as I've talked about before. So they are written kind of specifically for toe up 2 at a time. They can be adapted, and I do on the pattern page talk about kind of how I've set it up in terms of like referring to needle 1 and needle 2 and kind of what that refers to. But if you're doing them on DPNs, especially if you're doing them on 4 DPNs, it's very easy to switch. I guess you would need 5 DPNs because you'd be knitting with the 5th one. Or you could do it on 4 and have like 1 needle 2. Anyway, if you knit typically on DPNs, you can figure it out. It's not terribly hard. Hopefully, that was kind of my plan. I wanted this to be for all kinds of knitters. And they do have a bottom of the heel gusset and a short row heel. And there are many different options for short rows. I used the German short row technique in the sample that is shown. And, or I also put the Fish Lips Kiss heel short row technique in as an option as well. And I know a lot of people are familiar with that. And then there's a small gusset. Sorry, I keep looking down because it's the same thing I used on these as well. So you can see the bottom of the heel gusset right here, the short row heel, and then the gusset decreases right there. It's really hard to show in the black. And I did a video tutorial for the Turkish cast on that I use, and also for how I wind my sock yarn. I know that's not terribly exciting, but I've tried to explain it. I have shown it on the podcast once, but I did a tutorial for that. I also did a photo tutorial that I put at the end of the pattern if you don't want to watch the video one. And then I did a video on Turkish cast on for 2 at a time socks. There's a lot of videos for Turkish cast on, which are very helpful, but doing it for 2 at a time socks is a little different. And once I figured that out, it's been magic. So I hope the videos help, and I hope they are easy to understand. As always, if you have questions, feel free to contact me in any sort of way that you can find. Either on like a Ravelry private message, or you can post in the group. Yeah. So hopefully that helps. I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday, and I won't be recording next Sunday just because of the Coral Festival, but I'll probably record maybe on Monday because we get the day off for Memorial Day / recovery from the Coral Festival. It's exhausting. Singing takes a lot of energy. I don't think people really think about that, but singing takes a lot of energy. And so we're pretty tired after the Coral Festival. So Monday will be spent sleeping a lot and eating ice cream to make our throats recover from all that singing. You don't want to eat ice cream before you sing because it coats your throat, but afterward it is glorious. Yep. All right. Before I start talking about ice cream, which I kind of want now, maybe I'll have some before choir. Bad idea. I'll have some after choir. All right. Have a great week, everyone, and I will see you soon. Bye.